Okay, you guys, so we'll start on all fours, and you can always use your little prop underneath your knees if you know you like a little extra padding underneath your knees to be in hands and knees on all fours. Okay, so that's always an option to pad your knees a little extra if you want it or need it. You can also always remember you can fold up your mat and take the heel of your hand to the edge of the mat and let the rest of your hand be down on the floor, and that decreases your wrist extension a little bit, which sometimes will help your wrist be a little bit more comfortable in all fours, okay? So a couple options to keep you comfortable in all fours. So once you get into your all fours position, you want your hands right underneath your shoulders and your knees right underneath your hips, okay? So you've got nice support for your torso here. And we'll just do a little spine movement. So we'll move through a little cat-cow action. So take an inhale here. On your exhale, scoop up your abdominals, round the spine up toward the ceiling, letting your head fall. And then on your inhale, stick your bum out, lift and open up your chest. So exhaling to scoop and around, getting some stretch for the back. And then on your inhale, we're stretching the front of the body here. Exhale to scoop and around, and you can just make this movement as big or as small through your spine as it feels comfortable this morning. Just kind of checking in with your body here, seeing how your back and your shoulders feel. Go for one more. Exhale to scoop around. Inhale to extend, tail to head. And then come back to neutral. So you've got a nice long position of your spine. You're pulling your abdominals up away from the floor, so you've got support here. We're gonna lift that right foot, keeping your spine really long. You're gonna side bend to the right, peek at that foot over your shoulder, and then exhale to the left. So you're rotating side to side bending side to side, looking at that right foot over your shoulder in each direction. Keeping the abdominals and the chest and the head lifted up away from the floor. Get a little rotation for the hip joint, a little side bend for the spine, and then bring that back to the center and place that foot down. So you'll keep your left knee down, just lift your left foot, and we're gonna do the same thing, but this time we'll inhale to the left first and exhale to the right. So again, you're looking at that left foot over your shoulder in each direction, getting some rotation for your hip joint, for the leg, and some side bend for the spine. Let's go for one more time each direction. Inhale to the left and exhale to the right. And then bring that back to the center, place that foot down. So we'll come off of our wrists for a second and come down to the elbows. So you're gonna bring the elbows right underneath your shoulders, okay? And then the natural tendency is here to let the belly just sag down toward the floor always, right? So you're gonna pick the abdominals up so your spine is nice and long and supported by your abdominals. And then we're gonna move those shoulder blades a little bit. So you're gonna let the shoulder blades drop toward each other and then press the floor away, which will separate those shoulder blades. So letting the shoulder blades drop toward each other and then pressing the floor away and separating. So we're just trying to move the shoulder blades along the back of the rib cage and keep the rest of the spine nice and long. Okay, so not a lot of movement through the spine, really trying to focus on those shoulder blades gliding along the back of the rib cage. One more time, you guys. And then you'll push yourself back up to your hands and your knees. We're gonna move those feet just a little bit, okay? So from your hands and your knees, you're gonna just reach one foot back behind you, okay? So scoot forward on my mat here a little bit. So you've got one leg reaching out nice and long. Doesn't matter which one, we'll do both, okay? So just start with one leg reaching out behind you. Keep that leg really straight. Reach through your heel as you rock your body weight back just a little bit, increasing that calf stretch. And then you'll rock forward a little bit, really folding at the toe joints to stretch your toes. Okay, so pretty small movement. We're just keeping one leg straight, doing a little rock forward and back. Good, you guys. That's it. Nice. And you might be feeling a little wrist stretch as well. Okay, so just doing a little bit of gentle movement here. One more time. Good, and then rebend that leg, bring it back underneath your hip and switch. Stretch your opposite leg out nice and straight. Okay, so keeping that leg really straight and the hips level, right? You're rocking back to stretch the calf and forward to stretch the toe joints. And really try to get the whole ball of the foot down on the mat, particularly as you're rocking forward so that the movement is in those toe joints, really stretching your toes as much as you comfortably can here. Let's do 2 more of these. One more time. Good. And then bring that knee in. Okay, come off of your hands and you're gonna stay on your knees for just a couple more movements here. Okay, so you can shake those hands out if your wrists need a little bit of just release there. Okay, so from your knees, you're gonna peek down, get your knees nice and even, right? So make sure that they're even front to back. And then you're gonna keep your knees about hip distance or maybe even just a little bit wider. And we'll do some side bend from here. Okay, so you're gonna reach that right arm up toward the ceiling, keep it as straight as you can as you side bend over, really reaching up, and then stack the spine back up. And inhale to switch. So you're reaching one arm up, side bending, reaching through the shoulder, and then stacking the spine back up. Big inhale into that side bend. That helps you expand the ribs, get a little extra stretch. Exhale it back up. Good, and inhale to side bend. Good, you guys. Exhale back up, good. And remember, you wanna have your head move with you, so your whole body takes over, your entire spine goes over, including your neck. Yeah, there you go. And then come back up one more time. Big inhale. And exhale it back up. Nice. And then let's just do a little shoulder movement. Keeping your hips open, just inhale, reach the arms out and up. And then exhale, float those arms down. Good. Big inhale, reach the arms out and up. Getting those shoulders moving. Exhale. One more time. Inhale, reach. And exhale, float the arms all the way down. Nice. Okay, from here, we're gonna come onto our backs. So you're gonna have a seat on your mat. If you wanna have a little prop underneath your head to give your neck and your shoulders a little support, have it handy. So once you get down onto your back and you get your head comfortably supported, right? We all need a little different support when we get down on our backs here. So just see what feels comfortable. You may not need a head prop underneath your head at all, or you may just need a little bit, or you may need a lot. Okay, so get down on your back, just get comfortable, let your body get heavy, be heavy here. And just take a couple breaths, maybe rock your head side to side. Just let your body be heavy on the mat. And make sure that you've got yourself comfortable, okay? And once you're comfortable, we're gonna go back to moving those shoulders a little bit more, okay? So you're gonna reach your fingertips straight up to the ceiling. We're gonna do a little scissor. So you're gonna reach one arm overhead as the opposite arm comes back down to the mat by your hip, and then exhale, switch. Inhale one direction, and exhale the other. So sometimes we do this with both of our arms moving in the same direction. This morning, we're just playing around a little bit with having the arms move away from each other. And sometimes that's an interesting challenge to keep the rib cage heavy. So just notice if you can feel the back of your rib cage staying really heavy on the mat on both sides. Let's do one more here. And keep those arms wide to keep them comfortable. Now you're gonna reach your fingertips up to the ceiling. Keep your arms nice and straight as you open them out to the side like you're opening out to a T. And then bring the arms back up. So you're inhaling to open, stretching through the front of the shoulders and the chest. And depending on how tight you are, this may feel like a great stretch, or this may not feel like a lot of stretch at all. It just kind of depends on where you're tight and where you're mobile. So just go to where it feels comfortable, knowing that you're doing a nice expansion of the front of the shoulders. One more time. All right, you guys, place those hands down onto the mat. Take your feet nice and wide and windshield wiper your legs side to side. You can take your arms out to a T if you want to, if that feels like a comfortable place to rest your arms. And just let those legs go side to side. Now with your feet nice and wide while you're doing that, this gives you some good hip mobility, a little stretch through the front and side of the thigh. A nice stretch through your torso. Sometimes this feels like a really good stretch through the back as well. One more time each direction. And then bring that back to the center. You're gonna walk your feet just a little bit closer to each other. All right, let's place the arms down by your side and get into a little bit more controlled back movement. So I'm gonna place my hands on my hip bones and my lower abdominals just to give myself some feedback, you're welcome to do that if that's comfortable. You can also just let your arms rest by your side, okay? So just lay here in a neutral position, allowing your body to rest in a comfortable position here. You probably have a little bit of space in between your low back and the mat, just for that natural curve of your spine. Okay, so that's what we call neutral. And then on your exhale, you're going to use your abdominal muscles to press the low back down into the mat, which will rock your pubic bone toward you a little bit. And then on your inhale, release back to that neutral position. Exhale to use your abdominals to push the low back down into the mat, rocking the pubic bone toward you. Inhale to release back to neutral. Exhaling to imprint. And inhaling to release back to neutral. Keep going with that pattern, trying to keep your glutes, right, your bum relaxed. Just using those deep abdominal muscles. Push the low back to the mat and then release it away. Go for 2 more. Inhale to release. 1 more time. Exhale, imprint. And inhale, release to neutral. Okay, so now you're going to try to stay neutral. You're going to try to keep that natural little curve, natural little space in between your low back and the mat as you open the right leg out to the side. Bring it back to the center and exhale, switch. So we're doing a little single knee opener. Opening one knee out to the side, and then the opposite. And your goal is that you're not moving your pelvis or your back at all, right? So your movement may not be huge, right? You may be only opening that leg out a couple inches and then bringing it back in. Okay, so move in the range of motion where you feel control through your pelvis and your back and your torso. 1 more time each side. Stabilizing your spine in neutral. And then we're going to go into some marching. Okay, so you can walk those feet out a little bit farther away from you. Sometimes it gives you a little bit more movement for your thighs. And then you're going to march one leg up to tabletop. Place that leg down. Good, you guys. And then switch. So let's inhale to put the foot down. Exhale to lift. Inhale down. Exhale, lift. You can let your arms rest by your side. Try to keep that natural little space between your low back and the mat so that you're staying in a neutral position. And try to keep just as much weight on one half of your hip down the mat as you have on the other half. Back and forth, 1 more time each leg, marching up and down. Good. And then we're going to bring both of those legs up to tabletop. Okay, increasing the challenge, right? So now that both of your legs are up at tabletop, there's a lot more work to keep your low back in that neutral position. Okay, you can go back to having your hands on your hips if that's helpful, or you can relax your arms by your side. We'll do a little single leg stretch. You're going to stretch out your right leg, bring it back in, and then stretch out your left leg. So nice and slow and controlled so that you can really focus on pulling in your abdominals. Almost imagine that you're narrowing your waistline, flattening the abdominals from the front. Exhale, reach, inhale, bend. Exhale, reach, inhale, bend. You can either keep going nice and slow like that, or if you've done this with me before and you know that it feels like a good challenge to let your legs move at the same time, you can do what I'm demonstrating right now. Inhale, straighten one, exhale, straighten the other. Just letting your legs move at a little faster pace is a little bit more challenge. So go to whichever one is feeling comfortable this morning for 2 more full inhales and exhales. And then you're just going to hug those knees into your chest and give your legs a little rock side to side. You're going to let your low back stretch a little bit, do a little massage. Good work, you guys. Okay, hold on to the backs of those thighs. Let's do a hamstring stretch. Okay, so you're holding on to the backs of your thighs. You can let your arms be straight. Let your thighs just kind of reach away from you. Flex your feet and reach up until you feel a stretch in the backs of those legs. And then let your feet relax and your knees bend. Flex the feet, reach until you feel a stretch, and then bend. Let's do 2 more of those. And notice that the more you flex your feet, the deeper that stretch is, right? And then you're gonna come up and just feel that stretch, hold your stretch, and you're gonna flex and point both of your feet, right? So we're holding those legs as straight as we can comfortably get them, flexing and pointing. Good. Okay, so from here, you're gonna cross one foot over the opposite thigh, And then you're gonna pull the legs in towards you until you get a nice stretch on the outside and back of the bent leg hip. Take a couple breaths here. And then you'll switch, cross the opposite foot over the thigh, and then pull in. Ooh, and if you're like me, you've got one side that's a lot tighter than the other this morning. Take a couple nice deep breaths here. Okay, and you're gonna bring both feet down to the mat again. All right, so now you're gonna bring your feet and your knees all the way together. So you're gonna glue the feet and the knees all the way together. You're gonna take your arms out to like a low V position, right? So not all the way out to a T, but just a little bit closer to your hips. So keeping your arms down on the mat and your shoulders nice and wide, nice and anchored to the mat. We're gonna rotate the legs to the right, keeping everything glued together. So your hip and your foot might lift a little bit, and then you're gonna inhale back to the center, exhale to twist left, right? So if you're keeping your ankle bones and your inner thighs and your knees squeezing together, and that means as you rotate, one hip will have to lift and one foot will probably lift a little bit. See if you can feel your obliques, those muscles through your waistline, doing some work to help control this movement. Controlling how far you rotate and then bringing the legs back to the center. Inhale through center, exhale to twist, narrowing your waistline as you exhale, twist. One more time, each direction. Last time. And then bring that back in. Nicely done. Okay, so you're gonna support your head with your hands so you can lift your head up and peek at your legs. You're gonna open your feet out just a little bit wider. And you want your knees and your feet to be about a large fist distance apart. So they're about sit bone distance. So it's a nice neutral position. And then once you get your knees even, that'll help you know that your feet are probably in the correct position. You're gonna slide your head prop off out of your way so that you don't have your head prop underneath you. Lower your head down. We're gonna do some bridging, which is lifting up the hips. And so you want your head to start low on these so that there's no extra pressure on your neck. Okay, so you're gonna press your arms down into the mat gently. Press your feet into the mat evenly. And then on your exhale, you're gonna use your abdominal muscles to push the low back down into the mat and then squeeze your glutes to lift one part of your spine up at a time until you're resting on your shoulder blades and your hips are nice and high. Take an inhale here. And then on your exhale, you're gonna soften your chest and roll the spine down, releasing at the bottom into that neutral position again. Take an inhale, exhale to imprint, squeeze the glutes and peel the spine off the mat. Come up to rest on your shoulders for an inhale, and then exhale to roll back down. Inhaling at the bottom, exhaling to squeeze the glutes, lift the hips. Inhale at the top, make sure you're keeping your neck easy here. Exhale to roll back down. Really think about pushing evenly into your feet left to right, and pushing into the entire sole of the foot, right? Notice if you're pressing in more at your balls of the feet or more at your heels, and see if you can balance out where your pressure is on your feet. One more time. Roll it up, squeeze those glutes, take a big inhale, and then exhale to roll back down. Okay, so on this next one, you're gonna take your feet just a little bit wider so that they're maybe hip distance. You're gonna flex your feet, dig your heels down into the mat, okay? Keep your heels digging down into the mat as you squeeze your glutes and lift your hips up with a flat back this time, and then lower back down. So you're gonna squeeze the glutes and lift up, and then inhale, release the glutes back down. So now we're really working on that hip hinge, keeping the back flat, squeezing the glutes to lift, and then lowering back down. Again, just notice, are you digging your heels in evenly left or right? Can you keep that pressure nice and even? Squeeze a little lift, inhale to lower. Let's do two more, squeeze lift, really opening up the front of the hip joints. One more time, squeeze lift, and then lower all the way down. Nicely done. You can hug your knees into your chest to give your back a little rock side to side if that feels good. You can also stretch your legs out to the mat. Grab your head prop if you want it back underneath you, and just give your legs a little turn in and out. Okay, nice, yeah. And if you got your legs stretched out to the mat, it might feel nice to reach those arms overhead and just give yourself a nice big full body stretch. Okay, from here, we're gonna roll onto the side and do some sideline work. And let's start with hip work this morning. So start with the hip work portion and we'll end with some good stretching. So you can fold up your head prop a little bit more if you need to in order to give you a little bit more support for your neck and your shoulders in this position. And then once you get your head comfortable, you're gonna bend your knees, keep your feet and your knees stacked, bring your feet back in line with your hip. Okay, so your feet aren't in front of you, but they're back in line with your hips. And then we're gonna do clamshells. We haven't done clamshells in a while, you guys. So we're gonna keep the waist lifted a little bit away from the floor and the ribs connected while we open and close that top knee. So the feet stay together. The top knee is opening up toward the ceiling and then coming back down. Good, and the goal is that you're keeping your torso really still and your pelvis really still and just moving that top leg. Right, so we're really working that top hip, doing a little core work to help stabilize your body in this position. One more here. And then from here, we're gonna keep the top knee bent. We're gonna hike the whole leg up and then lower it back down. So now you're bringing your leg, your entire leg, including your foot, up with you. So that top leg is paralleling that bottom leg. And again, you're trying really hard to keep your pelvis still. So be mindful of what your pelvis is doing. Is your whole body trying to rock back in space when you lift that leg, or can you keep it really stable? Woo, two more. Bringing that whole leg up with you. One more. Nice, you guys. Okay, you can leave your bottom leg bent, stretch out your top leg, flex your foot, really get that leg actively straight. So you got a nice strong quad, keeping that leg straight. You're gonna kick the leg forward and then point your foot, pull the thigh back. Flex forward and point, pull. Inhale, flex forward. And as you point, pull, squeeze your glute, pull your abdominals in. Flex, kick, point, pull. Inhale, flex, kick. Exhale, point, pull. Flex, kick, point, pull. You guys are doing great. Two more. Kick forward, point, pull back. One more time. Okay, you're gonna hold that leg back, reach it out super long, little controlled circles. Circling that thigh bone. Yeah, make sure your breath is nice and steady. Check in with your neck. Can you keep your head heavy? Try to relax your shoulders. It's harder to keep everything still here. Reverse those circles. Breathe in nice and steady. Still trying to keep that little lift of your waist, connection of your rib cage in the front. 3 more, 2, 1, and relax that leg down. We're gonna do one more here. You're gonna stretch out both your legs. We're gonna keep the legs glued together. So keep your feet glued together and your legs glued together. You can point your feet or flex your feet, whichever one you prefer this morning. Okay, I'm gonna point my feet this morning, but you can do whichever one you want. You can have a couple fingers down on the floor in front of your waistline to give you a little balance support, or you can have your arm reaching across your hip, okay, for the ultimate balance challenge. Okay, so whichever one you wanna do, you're gonna exhale, lift both legs up together, keeping them glued together. Inhale to lower them back down. Exhale to lift them both up. Inhale to lower back down. Exhale to lift, and just lift as high as you can control, right? You're trying to balance on that little bone, hip bone down on the mat, which is quite hard. Try to keep those ribs connected in the front, head heavy. Good, narrowing the waist as you exhale, lift both legs. Inhale, lower last 2. Keep those legs glued together and as straight as possible. And then lower those legs all the way down. Okay, keep your bottom leg straight. Let your top knee rest on the mat in front of your hip. And then take the back of your top hand to your forehead, like you're being oh so dramatic. Elbow is bent, and then you're gonna rotate and open your upper body toward the ceiling. Take a couple breaths there. So big stretch through your shoulders, your chest, that top side. Take one more big full breath. And then come back to the center. You can unfold your head prop a little bit so it's a little bit lower on this next thing. We're gonna be rolling onto the back of the head, so we often don't need quite as much head prop for that. You're gonna have both of your knees bent in. We're gonna do some book openers, which will be a really nice twist for your body after all that work. So top arm is nice and straight, the arms are stacked. You're gonna reach the top arm forward first, and then reach it up to the ceiling and twist over. Hold for a big inhale. And then on your exhale, pull that arm back over. So just reaching forward to stretch across the back of the shoulders. And then you're twisting and opening the front and pull that arm back over. Do two more. Inhale, reach, exhale, twist. Take a nice full breath here. And then pull that arm back over one more time. Inhale, reach, exhale, twist. Inhale, hold that stretch. And exhale, pull the arm back over. Nicely done. All right, you're gonna push yourself up, come up to seated, grab your head prop and take it with you to the other side. So we're gonna start with all that good hip work, remember? So you're gonna start with your head prop, possibly a little bit fuller. Fold it up a little bit more, that way you've got some support for your neck and shoulders on this side. So once you get your head prop where you feel like you want it on this side, we're gonna start with bent leg clamshells, okay? So you wanna get your glutes connected in the front, a little lift of your waist away from the floor so your spine is really long and neutral, and then you've got your feet kicked back in line with your hips, in line with your bum. Okay, you're gonna keep your feet glued together as you open that top knee up, and then bring it back down. And I've got my hand on my top hip. Sometimes that's nice feedback, right? To help remind you to keep your pelvis still, right? Because if your whole body rocks back in space, you're gonna feel that, right? You're gonna feel that shift. And we wanna try to keep the torso really stable. So the only thing we're moving here is that top leg. These are looking good, you guys. Exhale, lift, inhale, lower. Good, one more time. Okay, keep that top leg bent. You're gonna hike it up, bringing the foot and the leg up, and then lower it back down. And make sure that your knee is lifting up as high as your foot. Sometimes our foot tries to lift up higher. Think about leading this movement with your knee. And that'll get your hip working a little bit better. Good, pull those abdominals in, narrowing your waistline, keeping that little lift of the waist away from the mat. Last two. Good, you guys, last one. Okay, bottom leg can stay bent. You're gonna stretch your top leg out, flex the foot, really reach through your heels. Super strong, straight thigh here. You're gonna kick the leg forward and then point the foot, pull the thigh behind you a little bit. Let's kick on your inhale, exhale, point, pull. Let's kick on the inhale, exhale, pull the abdominals in, squeeze the glutes to pull that thigh behind you. Let's kick, point, pull. Inhale, flex, kick, exhale, point, pull. Remember, you can always take that top hand and put a few fingers down on the floor in front of you, which will help give you a little bit of balance support if this is feeling challenging this morning. Okay, we got two more. Good, you guys, one more. You're gonna hold that thigh back, okay? So pull that thigh behind you just enough that you can feel those glutes really having to work hard here as you circle that thigh, little controlled circles. Try to relax the neck and shoulders, keep that breath nice and steady. It's hard to do here on this one, reverse those circles. Keep your breath nice and steady again. Try to keep that little lift of the waist away from the floor. Last two. Last one. Whew. Okay, stretch both of those legs out. All right, so you're gonna stretch both those legs out nice and long. So you're trying to make a long line from your head to your toes, okay? You're gonna keep the legs glued together. You can flex the feet or point the feet, whichever one you want. A couple fingers can be down on the floor in front of your waist. And you're gonna squeeze those legs together as you lift them up. Inhale to lower them down. Exhale to lift them back up. All right, so we're balancing again on that little bone on the outside of that bottom hip, which is a hard, small point to balance our entire body on, which is the point of this exercise, right? It really works a lot of muscles through that side body to help us stay balanced here without falling forward or back. Try to keep the head and shoulders heavy. Glue those inner thighs together. Last two. We'll lift them both up. Last one. And then relax those legs down. Good work, you guys. You're gonna let that top knee rest on the mat. Keep the bottom leg straight. Bring the back of your top hand to your forehead. Be all dramatic here as you rotate your upper body up toward the ceiling a little bit. Just getting a little stretch here. Stretching through the front of that top shoulder and chest. Definitely stretching through the torso and the hip. Take two more slow, full breaths here. Nice. Great, and then you can unfold your prop a little bit if you want to for our book openers. Remember, because look, rolling onto the back of the head on these, sometimes you don't need quite as much support. So both of the knees are bent in on this one. Body's nice and stacked. You can let your waist relax down, right? So you don't need to hold that waist up on this one. This is just a nice mobility exercise. So you're gonna reach the top arm straight and forward, and then lift it up to the ceiling, rotate and open, take a big breath in your stretch, and then pull that arm back over. Inhaling to reach, exhaling to twist and open. Take a big full breath, and then pull that arm back over. Go for two more of these. Let this movement be as big and comfortable as possible. Really focusing on the rotation of the rib cage and the spine. Taking your head and your arm with you. Big full breath. And then pull that arm back over. Nicely done, you guys. Okay, from here, we're gonna come onto your stomach. So let's prop ourselves up on our elbows. Just take a couple breaths to let the front side of the body stretch. So you're just gonna slide your head prop off to the side. Elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Legs are reaching out nice and long. And you're lifting the upper body away from the floor. So your shoulders and your upper back are gently active here, pressing the floor away. Pubic bone is heavy. You've got a little lift of your hip bones up away from the floor. Of your rib cage expanding on the inhale. One more nice full breath here. And then lower yourself down. You can make a little pillow for your forehead with your hands, elbows wide. Bend your knees and sway those legs side to side a few times. Just a little easy movement here. Good. Okay, so from here, let's turn your knees out a little bit wider. So they're a little turned out into external rotation and knees are a little bit wider. So you're gonna flex your feet. You're gonna glue your heels together. Okay, so this is sort of like frog position on your belly, okay? So you can keep your arms stacked where they are and your forehead either down on your hands, or you can stack your fists and bring your forehead down to your fists, okay? Whichever one feels more comfortable for your chest and your head. You're gonna keep your pubic bone heavy. This is the only thing we're gonna do on our stomach, and then we'll get off our stomach, okay? So you're gonna keep that pubic bone really heavy as you squeeze your heels together and try to lift your thighs and your feet up off the mat a little bit, and then release back down. So lots of glute work here. It's not a big movement. You might not even lift your thighs off the mat. You might just lighten them, right? So you're squeezing those heels together. Keep a little lift of your belly button away from the floor, right? So those low abdominals are not relaxed. They're trying to keep your belly button lifted away from the floor gently. Two more. Last one. And then you can rest your cheek to one side again. You can sway those legs side to side if it feels good. Good. Nice, you guys. Place your hands under your shoulders, push yourself up. And come up and either just scoop your belly and round back a little bit if that feels like a nice back stretch, or you can rest all the way in child's pose if that's comfortable on your knees and your hips. Okay, so if you're doing child's pose, let your head rest on something and take a couple nice deep breaths. If you're still on your all fours and just scooping and rounding, just breathe through the back side of the body. Wherever you are, take one more big full breath. Okay, and then we're gonna come back to all fours. Okay, so we'll do a nice big body weight shift forward and back from here, okay? So you're gonna take your hands out in front of you a little bit more on this one. So kind of starting your hands maybe out even a whole handprint farther in front of you than we normally do in all fours. You're gonna shift your weight back, keep your arms nice and straight and active, shifting your weight back towards your heels, and then you're gonna shift your weight forward, press the floor away, lifting up into extension. Exhaling to press back. Stretching through the backside of the shoulders and then shifting forward to push away, opening up the chest. Exhale to push back. Inhale to shift forward. Nice strong lift of the chest. Good, go for 2 more of these. Really press the floor away, open up the chest. 1 more time. Good, you guys. Nicely done. Okay, from here, we're gonna do a little seated work, okay? So you're gonna come off those hands and knees. You may wanna try using your head prop underneath your bum for this, okay? It'll give you a little, take a little tension off your hips. So you can put your towel or blanket or pillow, whatever you have, right underneath your sit bones. So you're gonna be kind of right at the front edge of it. So right at the tip, yeah, perfect. Okay, and then your feet can be out in front of you, however much you need to, so that you can sit nice and tall, right? If your feet are in really close to you and your knees are up in your chest, it'll be hard for you to sit tall. So just walk those feet out in front of you as much as you need to for comfort. And it doesn't matter if your balls of your feet are down, just make sure your heels are down on the floor, okay? And then look at your feet and get them nice and even. Okay, so you've got like a fist distance, large fist distance between your feet and your knees. You're seated nice and tall, but we're gonna do some more side bending here. Okay, so work to sit up nice and tall. This is not a relaxed position, right? Being seated tall is work for the body. Okay, so we're training that here. So you're gonna tip up and over on your inhale, right? And you're bending your right arm to allow, that's down on the mat, so that you can get a bigger range of motion. And then that left side of the waist helps pull you back up, right? Seated nice and tall on the sit bones. And then you're gonna inhale, side bend to the left hand down on the floor, elbow bends a little bit to give you greater range of motion. And then right side of the waist pulls you back up. So you're trying to keep that chest lifted, tip the head over, tip the spine over, and then exhale to come back up, seated super tall. Inhale to side bend. Good, you guys. Exhale to come all the way back up. 1 more time each direction. Exhale to come all the way back up. And last time to the left. And come all the way back up. Good. Okay, and if you're like most people, being that tall in this seated position is tiring, so your thighs might want a little stretch, okay? So you bring the soles of your feet together as far away or as close to your body as it feels good. You can hold onto your feet or your ankles and just kind of pull yourself upright and forward until you feel a nice stretch for your inner thighs. You might feel a little stretch in your back too, depends on how far forward you're pulling yourself here. Take 1 more big full breath here, trying to stay really long through your spine. And then bring those legs back in. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a side view, okay? But you can stay right where you are, seated nice and tall. So I'm just gonna give you a side view in case that's helpful for you to see my spine placement, okay? So I'm right at the edge of my head prop, still seated nice and tall, legs down in front, okay? And you're gonna keep your arms reaching out in front, okay? Working the tops of the shoulders and the arms. And then you're gonna try to keep your spine super long as you exhale and hinge back just a little bit with a nice flat back. And then you're gonna come forward again. Good, exhale to hinge. Narrowing the waist in a 360-degree action. Inhale to come forward. Exhale to hinge. So we're hinging at the hip joints, keeping the spine super long. Exhale, narrow the waist, hinge back. Inhale to come forward. Exhale to hinge. Keep reaching those arms out super straight. Inhale forward, last 2. Exhale, hinge. Inhale to come forward. 1 more time. Exhale to hinge. And inhale to come forward. Good work. Take your hands out behind you and nice and wide. Stretch your legs out and just let your legs be floppy as you turn them in and out. Those hip joints have a little bit of movement. Okay, hopefully that felt like not just hip work, but some core work too. A little waistline work. All right, from here, you're gonna keep your chest lifted, right? So don't let your body sag down with gravity. Keep the chest lifted. Take an inhale as you look to the right. Exhale back to the center. And inhale as you look to the left. Exhale back to the center. Inhale, look right. Exhale, center, chest lifted, collarbone wide. Good, you guys. Neck super long here. One more time, each direction. Good. Bring your gaze back to the center. Come off your hands. Shake out your hands a little bit. Okay, and then you can get your head prop out of your way. We're gonna come back and we're gonna do a plank. Okay, so let's do a nice plank together. Okay, we're gonna do a little series here to get you into it so that you can do whatever kind of plank feels good for your body this morning. Because basically anything we do in this all fours position where you're holding your abdominals and your body up away from the floor with a nice long neutral spine is working the same muscles that we work in a full traditional plank. Okay, so you're getting that good work no matter what position you're doing this in. Okay, so starting in all fours. Okay, let's just bring one leg back. So this is sort of like a half plank position, right? So you've got your ball of your foot down, your legs super straight. Just take a breath or two here, right? Feel how active this position is for your body. You're lifting your head and your chest and your abdominals up away from the floor, keeping your leg one of your legs really straight, your hips level. Good, and then bring that knee in. And then you're gonna switch. Okay, so you're gonna reach the opposite leg out, super straight leg, hips nice and level, chest and head and abdominals lifted away from the floor, reaching through one heel, breathing nice and active here. This is great work here. Okay, bring that leg back in. You can either do that same thing again, go back to one leg, breathe for 2 or 3 breaths and then switch. Okay, you can do that again, or if you want to try a full plank, if your body's feeling like a full plank this morning, go for it. You're gonna reach one leg back, either hold and breathe for 3 counts, or you want to go up to full plank, you're gonna hold both legs out. Okay, so if you're holding full plank, both legs are straight, inner thighs are squeezing toward each other. If you've been doing one leg, you're gonna bring that leg in and switch. You're doing one leg plank, okay? Regardless of which one you're doing, straight legs, straight arms, push the floor away, keep the head and the chest and the belly lifted up away from the floor. Take one more full breath. These look great, you guys. Gently drop one knee and then the other, and either scoop your belly and just round back a little bit, take a couple breaths, or if you want to rest all the way down into child's pose, go for it. Make a little pillow for your forehead, take a couple nice deep breaths. And then slowly make your way back up to kneeling. Okay, let your blood flow recirculate. And just take your knees wide and just do a little gentle sway. Just let your arms be floppy. Let your spine have a little easy rotation. Hips get a little bit of movement. Bring it back to the center. Keep your knees nice and heavy. Take a big inhale, reach those arms out and up. Exhale to float them down. One more time, body nice and long here. Reach the arms out and up. And then float those arms back down. If you guys are all done, good work today.